Honestly, 2020 is one of the toughest years for a lot of people and a lot of businesses. Smartphones and gadgets are now more expensive than ever, and doling out cash to buy new tech products almost always brings some head scratching session. With economic downturn and frankly low income earning the world over in 2020, this video recommends to use 6 smartphones under $200 or 90,000 naira if you live here in Nigeria that are totally worth it and have a good balance between their price, software performance, battery life, cameras, and build quality. In this video, I collaborated with SORJI Gray of the Device Hub based in Ghana. He also has a video on his channel where we collaborated to bring you 6 apps that we can't live without. I'll be leaving links to SORJI's YouTube channel and social media pages in the description of this video. Before we begin, consider subscribing to my channel and also the Device Hub. It would mean a lot to us. Also, do not forget to turn on notifications and like this video. Let's begin. So in no particular order, number 1 on my list here is the Redmi Note 8. The Redmi Note 8 was released in October of 2019 and it's one of those phones that you're just pleased with every time you pick it up. The Note 8 balances a great design with very impressive performance. It sports a 6.3-inch Full HD screen, a 4000 mAh battery, and uses the Snapdragon 665 processor. Although it was released on Android 9, it's since been updated to Android 10 and is also expecting the new MIUI 12 update. Software experience on this phone is a joy, and I must give kudos to the MIUI team for a well-optimized software experience on the Note 8. Gaming on this device works flawlessly. The battery lasts a full day with some juice to spare, but note this is with moderate use. If you're a heavy user, you may need to charge at least once before the day is over. The cameras on the Redmi Note 8 do not fail to deliver every time I pull it out of my pocket to get a quick shot, and Gcam on this phone exponentially improves photo quality and results. This phone is an all-rounder and it held up pretty well after 8 months of use, and I must say I'm very happy with this phone. At 90,000 naira, that's $200, this phone is a winner. The next smartphone on my list of smartphones that you should consider getting is the Infinix Note 7. I was pleasantly surprised by the cameras on this phone, and the gaming performance as well was astonishing on the Infinix Note 7. Of late, a lot of people have been tough on the Infinix brand, and Infinix really turned it up with this device. The photo results from the cameras on this phone were good, and dynamic range feature was quite impressive. Daylight shots were really clear and sharp, and selfies were much improved thanks to that 48 megapixel rear camera and the 16 megapixel front-facing camera. The Note 7 has a very beautiful design, although it's made from plastic. This, however, can be viewed as a positive feature. The phone has got a really huge 5000 mAh battery which lasts all day, and it comes with a Helio G70 processor which handles all the day-to-day tasks smoothly and handles gaming like a champ. The Infinix Note 7 has got 3 variants for you to pick from. The top 128 storage and 6GB variant, which comes in at 89,500 naira, that's $199. There's a 64GB storage and 4GB variant that goes for 78,000 naira, which is $175. And there's a third Infinix Note 7 Lite which has 64GB internal storage and 4GB of RAM that costs 67,500 naira, which is $150. Whichever you pick, you should be pleased with the performance and cameras on the Infinix Note 7. The next device on my list is the Nokia 6.2, and the Nokia 6.2 made this list because of its incredibly good build materials and quality, its performance and its software. Now, while the cameras on the Nokia 6.2 may not be its strongest feature, the software performance on this device is quite impressive. And for those who are not much into cameras, this is a phone that should satisfy you with its software. The Nokia 6.2 runs on Google's Android One program and was launched with Android 9. I just received the Android 10 update in June of 2020, and I'm very sure that this phone was to get one more major update to Android 11. You can also be assured of 5 years of security updates. The battery life on this phone here is not stellar. We've got a 3500 mAh battery, which is kind of a bummer, but with moderate use you can get through a day only having to charge the phone at night. The PureView technology in the 6.3-inch 1080p screen of the Nokia 6.2 makes the screen a joy to watch content on, albeit an LCD display. The screen also supports HDR10. The Nokia 6.2 was launched in September of 2019 and uses the Snapdragon 636 processor with options for 3 or 4 gigabytes of RAM. You also have a 32, 64 and 128 gigabyte storage options. You can get the Nokia 6.2 for just slightly over 90,000. But if you really do a proper search, you can get it for just about 90,000 naira on the dot, which is $200 on the dot. So I'm going to hand over the reins to SORJI now to give you his pick of 3 phones that are under 90,000 naira and that are very good all-rounder phones. SORJI, take it over from here.
Thanks, Henry. It's super great to be on your channel. So the first device I want to talk about is the Alcatel 3X. Now this is a clean looking device and it has a 720p display and it has 6 gigs and 128 gigs of internal storage. Now this device is powered by a Helio P23 processor, which is an octa-core processor, which is a great thing. Now in the battery department, we have 4000 mAh, which is not bad either considering that this is a 720p display. In the camera department, the Alcatel 3X has a triple rear setup. So you have a 60 megapixel camera, an 8 megapixel camera, and then a 5 megapixel camera. At the front, we have an 8 megapixel front shooter, which is also a great thing. One thing that I do really like about this device is that for under $200 you have a device that has Type-C. Type-C is very good because it helps you charge your device faster, and I mean the possibility of you damaging your USB port is very low because it actually takes both sides into the charging port, which is a great thing. The Alcatel 3X is retailing for around $156, which is a great thing considering that this has Type-C, a triple rear camera setup, and also 6 gigs and 128 gigs of internal storage. The second device is the Samsung Galaxy M11. Now this is a relatively new device. It came out around March 2020 and I must say I love how clean the design is as well. Now with this device you have a 6.4-inch 720p display. Now this is not an AMOLED display unfortunately, but then again I love that because it plays very nice on your battery. Now this device has a whopping 5000 mAh battery. It's powered by the Snapdragon 450 CPU. It has 64 gigs and 4 gigs of RAM, supports Type-C, and has a triple rear setup at the back as well. So at the back you have a 30 megapixel shooter, a 5 megapixel shooter, and finally a 2 megapixel shooter. At the front we have an 8 megapixel shooter, and I love the positioning of the camera. It's situated on the left side and it's a very tiny camera and it makes the display look very nice and gorgeous, and I must say I really love this device. It retails for around $153 and I must say it's very good considering that it also has Type-C, which in my opinion is a must-have in 2020. So the last device I want to talk about is the Tecno Camon 12 Pro. Now this device for starters has an amazing gradient finish. I also love the red accent on the power button, which makes it very easy to distinguish from the volume rocker buttons as well. Now this device has a 6.35 720p AMOLED display. Now the other devices did have IPS LCD displays, but I do love the fact that this has an AMOLED display, and it also has 6 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of internal storage. Now I love the fact that the Tecno Camon 12 Pro is powered by a Helio P23 CPU. This is clocked at 2 GHz and it's also an octa-core CPU. In the battery department, we have a 3500 mAh battery, which is not as great as the other devices I've already mentioned, but this has an AMOLED display which the other devices don't have. So if you want slightly superior screen quality, you can go for the Tecno Camon 12 Pro. It does have a caveat, and that is the micro USB port. Like all the other devices have Type-C. I do think that even budget devices deserve to have Type-C in 2020, but this device, well, it's a 2019 device, but it does not have a Type-C port. So if it's something that is really of importance to you, I think you'd want to skip this. But aside that, I do think it's a great device. In the camera department, we have a triple camera setup at the back as well. So we have a 60 megapixel shooter, an 8 megapixel shooter, and a 2 megapixel shooter. Now at the front, we have a whopping 32 megapixel shooter, which is very good for selfies and all that. So if you're big on camera, I do think you should consider the Tecno Camon 12 Pro. So there you have it, guys. 3 amazing devices under $200. Thank you so much, Henry Neil, for inviting me to your channel, and I'll catch you guys later.
Thanks, SORJI, for your list. Those phones were also worth it. That was it, guys, my list of phones under 90,000 naira or $200 that are all rounders. If you have any suggestions of your own, you can leave them down in the comment section of this video. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, do hit that subscribe button and turn on notification. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Cheers.